Good afternoon, and welcome to today's lunch break with the Rabbi. Today is the last lunch break of 2020, and as we escort the year of 2020 out, today is your last chance to do a mitzvah of 2020, whatever that mitzvah can be. That mitzvah can also be in participating in our raffle, so please make sure to do your last mitzvah for 2020. If you want it to count for your tax year of 2020, that's going to be today is your chance. So please make sure to do so as well. Today is Thursday, December 31st, 2020, and it is the 16th day of Teves as we continue in our journey in the last and final Torah reading of the book of Genesis. We'll just give it one more moment for people to get on. Just give it a second, and then we'll continue with our thought for today. Okay, so continuing on our exploration on the last and final Torah reading of this week, which is the Torah reading of Parshas Vayechi, which it talks about Jacob's final word and testament. You know, there was once a story told about this very wealthy individual lying on his deathbed. And around him, his whole family is there listening and standing with him for his last moments, crying about the passing of their loved one. And suddenly some guy comes in and he sticks inside himself together with the rest of the family and he starts crying. And they asked him, "Why are you crying? You're not related. What do you have to do with this?" He looks at them and he says, "That's why I'm crying, because I'm not related to this rich man and he's now dying." Every single time a loved one passes away, it is a difficult time for the family, but it is a time when the family gets together and unites and stands as one to listen to the words of the one who has passed on. And it brings together the family and probably in ways that it may have not throughout the person's lifetime. Jacob, in this week's Torah reading, gathers his family around before he passes away and gives every single one of his children and grandchildren a blessing. Yesterday, we discussed about the blessing that he gave to his grandchildren, Menashe and Ephraim. But if you look at when he calls over his children and he gives them a blessing, every single one of them was a unique blessing, a unique character. But there are two brothers who are scolded, yelled, rebuked. Now, right before Jacob's passing. Who are they? Shimon and Levi. What does Jacob tell them? And all of a sudden, Jacob looks at them, and Jacob says, "You Shimon and Levi, you went and you killed out the city of Shechem. You wiped out a whole nation of people very quickly." And he rebukes them for it. He also rebukes them for the fact that they were the ones of the plotters to kill Joseph. Why now? Right before his passing. Why now is it a time for him to start yelling at his children of Shimon and Levi? Which the question even becomes greater, which at the time of Shimon and Levi killing the people of Shechem, Jacob had no problem with them doing it. He was upset in their method. He didn't think they should have killed everybody out, but he knew they were deserving. Shimon and Levi argued that their sister was being made as a harlot, was captured and raped, and therefore they have to show that you don't start up with us. And Yaakov agreed. Why all of a sudden now he's about to die and he starts yelling at them about something that happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Where's the logic in it? The Torah tells us that though Jacob was not maybe fond of their tactic, but the people of Shechem were liable of death penalty. It's not like they did something wrong. They raped a woman. In the Noahide laws, they were liable of the death penalty, and therefore they went ahead and did it. And over here, what Jacob was upset with was not necessarily what they did, but also the character of Shimon and Levi he brought into question. And what happened was, after Shimon and Levi went and destroyed the people of Shechem, Jacob said, okay, fine. You have your way of dealing with things. You went and destroyed the people. You killed them because you felt they were liable to the death penalty. I'll give you that. But then he saw a little bit later where Shimon and Levi again were plotting and prodding against to kill Joseph. And over here, Jacob says, 1 second. It's not that you were bothered by the people of Shechem. You got this mean streak. So today it was the people of Shechem. Tomorrow it's Joseph. And the next day it's going to be somebody else. How do I know that this that you're doing is authentic, is real? That the reason why you killed the people of Shechem was because it bothered you that they took your sister Dinah. And not because you're a zealous, fast trigger killing individual. How do I know that this is not your personality, but this is only because you want to help and save? And on the contrary, the very fact that you've shown that you are also interested in hurting your own brother Joseph out of jealousy tells me that this may not be something that you'd like to just take revenge in the name of God, but you got a problem. And therefore, Jacob on his deathbed, when he turns to the brothers of Shimon and Levi and he tells them and he says, listen here, Shimon and Levi, this is not about what you've done in the past, but it's about how you should rectify, how you can become part of the Jewish people in taking away the negativity, the lack of understanding and appreciation, that even when it comes to rebuking, there has to be a splinter of love. There was once 2 people from the city of Minsk, money collectors, that were going around, that once went to one of the great tzaddikim to ask them for some money. So one of the collectors come into the holy rabbi, and the holy rabbi asks him, and he says, how are the people of Minsk doing? So the fellow says, well, the people of Minsk, they're living in harmony. Things are fine. Each one of them looks in their own way to be able to progress in serving God. And the rabbi gave him a nice coin. The second person walks in and said, the rabbi asks him, no, how are the people of Minsk? And he says, the people of Minsk, this guy is fighting with that guy. The people are not interested in anything spiritual. They barely come to pray and everything else. The rabbi didn't give him a dime. So he looks at him and he says, what's the matter? He says, I didn't ask you how the people in Minsk are doing. I wanted to know in what Minsk you are living. Every single one of us looks at the world from our perspective. Every single one of us looks at things from our own prism. And it looks like the world is a disaster because we're a disaster. If it looks like the world is in harmony, it's because we're in harmony. Take next week's Torah reading. Pharaoh enslaves the Jewish people, and God punishes him for it. And many people ask the question, why? God promised Abraham that that's what's going to happen to the Jewish people. Life is going to be terrible. They're going to be enslaved. Pharaoh was just a messenger. The problem is, there's doing your job and then enjoying what you're doing and hurting another person. I want to share with you a story that I was told as a kid. And this story is so touching, which brings to point this entire idea. There was a teacher, his name was Rabbi Nissen. And this teacher, Rabbi Nissen, was a very well-known Melamed, a well-known student, teacher of students. And one time, his students weren't behaving. And he had a student by the name of Yitzchak Shaul. His own son, in fact, was Yitzchak Shaul. And Yitzchak Shaul was a very difficult child. He would be very wild. He would start up with the goats. He would do every kind of trouble you can imagine. It reached until here. Reb Nissen didn't know what to do. He called his son in, and he told his son, and he saw what his son was doing, was chasing and throwing rocks at the animals and torturing the goats. And he called his son in and he said, listen here, what you did, you are hurting the animals. This is a terrible thing, and therefore I'm going to have to spank you. He took his son and he spanked him. As soon as his son came off the table, spanked, his father sat down by the table, put his head down and started crying. It bothered him so much. It hurt him that he had to spank his child. When Yitzchak Shaul saw how much pain his father had from having to spank his child, it endured him. It changed him. And the child became a whole new child. It wasn't the spanking that changed him. It was the feeling, the emotion, the crying that came because of it. We can punish people. People need to be punished. People need to be rebuked. The question is only how you do it. Are you doing it out of love, out of compassion, out of a feeling, or because you're getting enjoyment? Finally I get my ability to yield my power. Finally I'm able to get back at that in the person. This is exactly what Jacob was telling Shimon and Levi. You could punish the people of Shechem. Yes, you need to rebuke Joseph. But are you doing it because finally, yes, I got so much excitement that I can now rebuke somebody? Or because it pains you, it bothers you. You're doing it out of love. The next time you have to tell somebody off, the next time you need to rebuke your own child, rebuke yourself. Do it out of love. Cry a little bit. If you're doing it out of anger, never rebuke. If you're doing it because you're upset, never rebuke. Only out of love, compassion, and feeling for another person, then you know that you will be able to change that individual and change yourself as well. Remember, if you see a world of chaos, it's because you're chaotic within yourself. Create harmony within yourself. Create peace and calm and soullessness. And you will then be able to impress it upon those you want to impress upon. Whether it's your children, your friends, or your students. Because out of love will pierce their hearts, as the sages tell us. Words that come from the heart penetrate the heart. God bless you. Have a good Shabbos. And may all the blessings that Jacob gives his children this week, may we all be blessed with it in an abundance for happiness and health till 120. God bless you and have a wonderful Shabbos, a happy new year. And remember, today is your last chance to do a mitzvah in 2020. Grab the opportunity and make a difference. All the best.